We have announcements regarding arrests that were made in conjunction with 2 indictments that were returned and unsealed today. More information about that by the leaders of our organizations who are here today to give you some commentary. I wanted to thank my fellow PAOs for making this happen today. Wendell Campbell from DEA and Roseanne Hughes from FBI and Ophelia, appreciate it, from the Killeen Police Department. Thank you for being here today. And also wanted to point out a couple things. One, I know you're going to ask me about photos, okay? We are currently trying to get some photos for you of some seizures today. Turn your attention to Wendell Campbell. You can see him afterwards about those photos that will be made available to you. And then also I just spoke with Sheriff McNamara regarding the defendant's photos, mugshots or booking photos. Just so you're all aware, it is against DOJ policy for us to provide photographs of defendants, but the state is not part of the Department of Justice, and therefore Sheriff McNamara can make those available to you guys upon request. So please see Sheriff McNamara afterwards if you don't mind. Last things, final mic check. White balance, everybody good in the back? Good to go? Okay, you have copies of the indictments there. Sorry for the lack of B-roll. I used to be a former television news reporter, and I know the importance of B-roll, but unfortunately what I've got for you are the indictments at this point, and the news release. But again, thank you for being here today. Appreciate it. It's nice meeting y'all. Nice being able to put a name with a face. That's good. That's good. Again, we'll get started. This is officially your 2-minute warning. So again, we'll be with you shortly. Thank you. Everybody in?
Let's give it a second. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is John Bash. I'm the United States Attorney in the Western District of Texas. A lot of great law enforcement partners around me. First, I'll just mention a couple folks from my team here at the U.S. Attorney's Office, Mark Frazier, who's the chief of our Waco office, Chris Blanton, who's one of our prosecutors, and then another prosecutor who couldn't be here because she's in court, but worked on the matter we're about to talk about, Stephanie Smith-Burris. So thank you to them. Just some of the law enforcement folks behind me. Will Glaspie, Special Agent in charge of the DEA in the Houston office. John Scotta, Assistant Special Agent in charge at the FBI in the San Antonio Division. Chief Ryan Holt of the Waco Police Department. Sheriff Parnell McNamara of McLennan County. Chief Charles Kimball of the Killeen Police Department. Captain Stephen Schwartz of Texas DPS Criminal Investigations Division, and Deputy U.S. Marshal Vicki Simmons. And all of them and their staffs played a huge role in what we're about to announce today. We're here to announce an extraordinarily successful law enforcement operation. Today we have arrested 22 individuals in connection with 2 separate drug trafficking conspiracies in Central Texas, both in Waco and Killeen. Those arrests were pursuant to 2 indictments in federal court that were unsealed today. One of those indictments involves members of the Gangsters' Disciples for not only trafficking methamphetamine but also cocaine and crack. The other indictment alleges a separate conspiracy involving trafficking methamphetamine. A lot of the folks in these indictments are facing enormous penalties. Many of them are subject to statutory maximums of life in prison. What that indicates is that the amount of drugs involved were extraordinarily large. So we have taken a lot of narcotics distributors off the street. I should mention that everyone who is arrested is innocent until proven guilty, or is presumed innocent until proven guilty, or until they plead guilty. So I want to make sure to emphasize that. But according to the allegations in the indictments, these folks were very, very serious drug traffickers, and we've gotten them off the streets today. One other point I'll mention: in the course of our arrests today, we took 22 firearms off the streets. So those are firearms that could be used to kill innocent people, and that goes a long way towards our efforts to prevent violence in this region of Texas, where it's been a problem in certain locales over the last few years. So we're very proud of that. 2 other points to mention. One, this operation, like all our operations, but especially one of this magnitude, was really a team effort. All of the agencies, federal, state, local, you see represented behind you, and others that are not represented here, contributed enormously to this effort, and we only really get things done at this level of sophistication and magnitude when it's a total cooperative team effort. And for as long as I've been here, at least, we've had great cooperation among all levels in this area of the state. The other thing I want to emphasize is I know there is a debate in this country about things like marijuana legalization or decriminalization of small amounts of possession. This has nothing to do with that. These were people that were making large amounts of money selling large amounts of drugs, allegedly, drugs that cause enormous physical and psychological damage to vulnerable people. They are preying on the vulnerable for money, and they destroy people's lives when they sell things like methamphetamine to fellow citizens. So this is, I think, something that has very little to do with some of the other debates about drugs. This is bad conduct that was alleged, and I'm glad we could all work together to get these folks off the street. Now I'm going to turn it over to Special Agent Glaspie with the DEA.
Thank you, John. I'm Will Glaspie, Special Agent in charge of the Drug Enforcement Administration in the Houston Field Division. First and foremost, I want to thank these men and women up here. As Mr. Bash indicated, all of our offices and our departments in Central Texas are not very large, and so we don't get anything done of significance without working together. And time again, our agents, our officers, have come together to work significant investigations that make our communities much safer. That was the case on 2 different occasions with these two investigations. And while you can't hardly pick up a paper these days without talking about the opioid epidemic, what most people don't realize is if we weren't talking about opioids across the country, we'd be talking about the United States appetite for methamphetamine. Methamphetamine is the most trafficked drug here in Texas. It is smuggled across, for the most part, it is smuggled across our southwest border, ports of entry from Del Rio all the way to Brownsville. It is the most produced synthetic drug in Mexico, and the production and distribution of methamphetamine, both in Mexico and in the United States, is dominated by Mexican cartels. But it's organizations like what we took off the street today that are in charge of distributing the poison in our neighborhoods. And in this case, 2 significant trafficking organizations have been removed from our communities, making Central Texas a much safer place. So thank you very much.
I'll turn the podium over to Special Agent Scotta from the FBI.
Good afternoon. Today's arrests represent the culmination of several years' worth of investigation. The Gangster Disciples are a national-level threat which engages in violence and drug trafficking activities. In addition to the arrests that happened today, we seized 16 firearms, as well as over $10,000 in U.S. currency. And as was said already, up here, we need the cooperation of our partners, and that's why you see all these different agencies represented. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them for the work that they did, because without it, we couldn't get today's result. Finally, I'd like to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office for their unwavering support during this entire process and for their professionalism. So, thank you.
Chief Holt of the Waco Police Department.
I just wanted to take a moment and echo the sentiments of appreciation to all the agencies involved, in addition with the U.S. Attorney's Office. And when you get the press release, you'll see a impressive array of criminal defendants and charges. And one of the things I don't want to get lost in the numbers and the statistics of this operation, because it was a large operation, is that these men and women who are criminal defendants today were plying their trade to take advantage of citizens in Central Texas. And so all of these agencies, the local, state, and federal agencies that were involved and have been involved in working together, stand together to protect our citizens. And so this is not some far-flung criminal organization. These are folks who are plying their trade in Central Texas, and we all work together, and our agencies work together, and will continue to work together to protect our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Sheriff McNamara of McLennan County.
Thank you very much. I also want to thank the different agencies involved here. And I think this just goes to show you what an effort like this can do when you have this many different agencies on the different levels, from the local, state, and federal level. When they get together and cooperate with each other, they can have a tremendous impact on this scourge of America. I don't know how else to describe it. We all know how we feel about dope, drugs of all kinds. And I just want to thank all these guys that pitched in. This is our county, meaning all of our county, our good citizens. We appreciate our good citizens, and we're here to protect and serve them. We also appreciate the citizens supporting us like they did in so many of our efforts. And without the support of the citizens, our job would be much more difficult. So I want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office, the federal agencies involved, for taking these cases federal. It's going to have a tremendous impact. We know the sentencing guidelines. They really have some strong teeth in them, and they certainly should in a case like this. These are very dangerous individuals. Like they've said, guns were seized, 16 firearms. These were in the hands of some very dangerous individuals. And now the individuals, as well as a lot of their dope and their firearms, are off the street today because of the effort of these good officers around us and behind me. And thank you to every one of y'all, and thank y'all very much. And I want to thank the media for being here, and I want to thank y'all for getting our message out there to the public, and we appreciate that very much. Thank y'all.
And Chief Kimball of the Killeen Police Department.
Good afternoon, everyone. As my esteemed colleagues have talked already, a lot of hard work and effort and cooperation went into the operations today. But, you know, to the citizens of Killeen, the Gangster Disciples, a national organization, a national drug trafficking organization, set up shop in Central Texas, in Killeen. And if it wasn't for the cooperation of many in this room and many that aren't here today, we put a halt to it. We put a halt to their drug dealing. We put a halt to their trafficking. We put a halt to all the associated crimes that come with that. We are going to continue to work hard, and we want to thank our citizens, particularly in Central Texas, for working with us, because we know that if we are a more connected community, we're a safer community. Thank you.
And finally, Captain Schwartz of Texas DPS.
I would just like to kind of reiterate what my predecessors have said. These two cases are an excellent example of what teamwork and the joint effort that all these agencies are putting together to have a very effective local impact for the citizens of Central Texas. Definitely want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office. They've been instrumental in making all these cases successful. Thank you.
So we'll open up for some questions now.
When did you all start working together on today's operation?
Well, let me turn it over to Agent Glaspie. The conspiracies are alleged to go back to 2017 at least. So.
Yeah, on the Killeen case, that started in 2016, so that's actually a 2-year investigation. The case here in Waco started last spring, I believe.
Anybody else?
You've been keeping this from us for 2 years.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Could you elaborate on those two cases, the Waco one and the Killeen one, and how you found out about it?
Unfortunately, we can't give too many investigative details at this point for maybe obvious reasons, to make sure that we can make the case we need to make. So I know you'd like more details, but we can't give that at this point.
Now, this was a large drug bust, obviously, but how much of a problem is this still continuing to be? Is there still a problem here in Waco and Killeen?
Well, certainly today's actions are going to be enormously impactful, but they're not going to solve the problem, absolutely. So as Agent Glaspie said, methamphetamine is a huge, huge problem in Texas. It's probably our biggest drug problem, although opioids are on the rise as well. So it's going to continue to be a problem, but we put a dent in it today, I think.
Is this going to lead to other arrests in the future?
I think we can't talk specifically about this case. I think as a general matter, oftentimes when you arrest large numbers of people, you learn additional information about others. As a general matter, not going to talk about specifics in this case, though.
Could you elaborate, Chief, a little bit on the gangster disciples in Killeen? You were talking a little bit about how they were a detriment to the Killeen community. Could you talk about that? Could you discuss
Sure.
that?
Again, like the U.S. Attorney said, without getting into a whole lot of specifics, but we know traditionally the Gangster Disciples are a very violent organization headquartered in Chicago in the Midwest. They have ties going back to California and all over the United States. And for them to be headquartered or to be solidified in Central Texas is interesting, to say the least. But they used the drug trafficking, the meth that was coming up from Mexico to further their reign. But luckily we had some very talented law enforcement officers. We got in the middle of that and we broke it down.
I know it's still early, but with the Gangster Disciples, do you know within the ranks of the organization how high up some of these people that you were arrested were?
Again, those are operational details, and we can't get into those specifics.
Did these people, is it safe to say that they were involved in other kinds of crimes too?
I think that'd be safe to say that.
I'm specifically talking about McLennan County. Obviously, Waco PD is here, but I've heard that this, extended to McGregor. There are other areas of McLennan County. Can you give us any other specific directional areas? Because Waco PD is here, I believe there were other areas of the county that were.
Yeah, I don't want to talk specifically about this case, but in any drug trafficking operation of this magnitude, it's unlikely that they're going to stop at the particular border of one county, and so activity in adjacent counties is to be expected, especially when you're talking about conspiracies involving 10, 20 people. That's natural. Yeah.
Some of the names appear to be blacked out. Can we expect more arrests?
It's possible. We're not going to go into that, but it's possible. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Again, thank y'all for being here.
Thank you.
So everybody got